friends are heathens, take it slow.
What is going on, everybody? So, this road trip has taken a very unexpected turn. One I'm not super excited about. Unfortunately, I was a bit of an idiot, and on my way down here, I had to stop for gas 3 times, and all 3 times I told myself, hey, check the oil, check the oil, check the oil. I'm sure you guys can already figure out where this is going. So, all 3 times I forgot to check the oil. I was very excited about my trip, excited to get underway. While I was still in the state of Tennessee, even though I knew I was on my way to Japan and things were rolling in the right direction, it just felt like life had stagnated, and I was kind of like in this perpetual wait mode where I wasn't going to be doing anything, and it just felt like nothing was going on. And I hated that. And so getting on the road actually made things feel like they were actually accelerating and that I was actually on my way. So I was very excited about the trip, and I got on the road and I was really excited. I stopped for gas the first time. I filled up. I ran inside. I grabbed a few things, drinks, came back out to the car, got back out on the road. Completely forgot to check the oil. And about 5 minutes down the road, I went, oh yeah, I got to check the oil. I'll get it the next time I stop for gas. So I stopped. I stopped once just after I got into Georgia, and then I stopped again right before I left Georgia. And I did the same thing. Hey, don't forget to check the oil. And same thing. I filled up. I got back out on the road. Completely forgot to check the oil. Third time, I was already in Florida. I was about, I don't know, just over 200 miles away from Miami, and I did it again. Don't forget to check the oil. I ran inside, blah, 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 completely forgot to check the oil again, and on my way, I was about, 45 minutes away from Miami. I started noticing that the car was not making power. Now, it's a Civic. It doesn't make power to begin with. But I did notice a substantial drop in fuel efficiency. That was the first sign that something was odd. I didn't really... Loss of fuel efficiency can be a bunch of things. So I wasn't too concerned about it because I was like, I've got 2 weeks in Miami. I'll have enough time to properly nail down what it is that's actually causing that issue. And at the time, I didn't have any other thing telling me that there was an issue. And a little bit more time went on, and I started to notice that I was losing power. So fuel efficiency's down. I'm not making power. It was the middle of the day, and it was very hot. So I was thinking that I'm not making power because, the car's heavy, the engine's been running for a long time. There's several reasons that I could not be making power, but I shouldn't be losing power. Something is very wrong. And so I pulled over at a rest area. I stopped for a bit to let the engine cool down for a minute. And that was when I decided, I'm still waiting for the engine to cool down. I said, I'll go ahead and check the oil. I kept telling myself I needed to do that anyways. So I checked the oil, and there is no oil. I also realized that the front of the valve cover gasket is leaking just a little bit. Wasn't a whole lot, but it did seem like there was some seepage out of the front of the valve cover gasket. And as far as I could tell, that was the only place that was actually leaking. Underneath the car had never leaked. It didn't leak when I was staying at David's. It was not leaking when I stopped to inspect the car at Nathan's house just before I left. And again, I had changed the oil maybe a couple of days or a week before I actually left. So there was a full thing. There should have been a full pan of oil in there, and there was nothing. And I have no idea how or why. I think that it was the valve cover gasket, but there's a couple of different things. It could have been anything. Unfortunately, I noticed that I did not have oil. I did not have anywhere to buy oil, and there was nobody. I was still a good distance away from Miami, and the closest gas station was about 14 miles away. So I drove. I got back in the car, and at low RPMs, I noticed a small, not really a tinking sound. It was a weird. It was a weird sound, but I did notice a sound. It sounded like valve rattle a little bit, and so I was very nervous about that. I kept the car at a very low RPM, at the minimum speed limit for the road that I was on. To get to that gas station. I got to the gas station. I bought 4 quarts of oil. I poured it straight into the engine, and the noise seemed to go away. And I was like, I dodged a bullet. I'll be okay. Filled up with gas. I got back out on the road. About 5 minutes later, the noise came back, and it started to get louder and louder, and I was not making power. And at that point, I knew that it was not valve tick or lifter tick, whatever you want to call it. And I noticed again that I was losing power. I knew at that point exactly what was done. There was nothing. There was no saving the engine at that point. It was done, and so I kept going. I got to about 20 miles outside of 20 minutes outside of Miami, and the engine locked up. It was done. There was no more. I clutched, let the car ride itself out, use whatever little energy was left in the vehicle. Keep in mind, the engine is seized at this point, so I'm just coasting. But I didn't want to damage the transmission, not that there was any reason to really worry about saving it, but so I just let the car coast, and when I finally came to a stop, I went ahead and called my dad, and unfortunately the surprise, which was supposed to be me walking in and sitting down at the restaurant that my stepmother and my brother were at, it was me having to call my dad saying, "Hey, don't go to lunch." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It was supposed to be a surprise. I was supposed to sit down with you at lunch, but I need you to come and pick me up. I'm about 20 miles outside of Miami." And unfortunately, I didn't get to see his face. When I surprised him, this was not the way that I wanted to surprise my dad. I'm a little embarrassed because the car didn't make the trip, and that's all on me. It's not the car. The car did a fantastic job, and if you think about it, the car went about 900 miles, and we have to assume that it went a pretty good distance of that without oil for some reason. It's possible that something could have happened. I could have hit something. Somebody could have done something to the car. I highly doubt that. But anything could have happened. It very well could have been that I hit something at some point during the trip and didn't realize it, and that caused the oil pan to leak out all the oil. It could be that I ran the car without oil, not realizing there was no oil in it because I was an idiot and didn't check it. But again, it all boils down to, if I had been checking the oil regularly, I would not have been caught off guard by this. And that is all on me. 100%, that's my fault. It's just really bad that it happened in the middle of a road trip. I am in Miami. I have another 2,100 miles to go, and I have no car. So, not really entirely sure what I'm going to do at this point. I did have quite a few things in the car. I'm estimating, and I have got no basis for this estimation. It could be A good amount more, could be quite a bit less, but I'm estimating it'll probably cost me about $300 to ship everything from here to Colorado Springs. And then it's probably going to cost me about $200, $250 to buy a plane ticket from Miami to Colorado Springs. So I'm looking at about $500 there, which I won't get any money back whatsoever at all. The other option is to buy a car here in Miami and drive it from Miami to Colorado Springs. Now, there's quite a few risks involved with this. Whereas when if I ship my things and fly to Colorado Springs, it's almost guaranteed that I will make it there, and so will all of my things. So that is a good thing, but I get no money back whatsoever at all. It's not the route that I want to take. Personally, I don't want to do that. This is a road trip. I wanted to complete the road trip, and I have not completed the road trip because I am stuck here in Miami, which there are worse places to be stuck. My family is here, and I'm very excited to see them. So I say stuck, but I don't want to imply anything additional over to that. I came here in a car, and my car is no longer with us. So what I would like to do is buy another car. Now, the risks involved with that is I could buy a junker and not realize it. As much as I would love to say that I can perfectly look at a car and tell, hey, that car is going to make it 2,100 miles, I'm good to go on buying this car, I can't say that with all certainty. Usually when I buy a car, I won't do anything crazy with it, and what I mean by crazy is I won't take that car down the interstate. I won't take it on a long distance drive or anything like that until I've had a good amount of time to spend with that car and double check for certain that there is nothing wrong with it. That means getting underneath the car, checking all the filters, changing the oil, going over all sorts of things. And it's usually changing the oil a couple of times because you don't know what the previous owner used as far as oil is concerned. Were they using synthetic oil? Were they using conventional oil? What is it that you normally use? I normally use conventional. But I don't know what the previous owner of any car has been using. Have they been swapping between conventional and synthetic because they don't know that they shouldn't do that? I don't know. And there are all sorts of things, just like when the Civic was making a slight ticking noise as I was trying to get to that gas station, and I put 4 quarts of oil in it, and the ticking noise went away for a little while. But I kept driving the car, and the ticking noise came right back after, 10 minutes, something like that. And so there was definitely something, it's very easy to cover up a problem that you don't actually know about. And so there's a lot of reason to be careful. Now, this is the route that I would like to take. I would like to go ahead and buy another car. What I planned on doing while I was in Colorado was to go to the Anaheim auto auctions in Denver and buy cars there, make sure they're in good shape, and then flip them for a profit. And so this is somewhat in line with what I was planning on doing anyways. The question is, can I get a car here that would be worth money in Colorado? Considering that the two environments are very different, it is something to be somewhat aware of. The climates are very different, the type of road that you're driving on is very different, and then the road conditions are very different. Florida is obviously a saltwater state. The ocean is right here. So rust is something that you have to be concerned about here. Humidity is also very high, which gives another reason to look out for things like rust. Colorado is a very dry state. The humidity is very, very low there, but they use a lot of salt on the road. So as long as you take care of undercoating the car in Colorado, you usually won't run into a whole lot of rust issues. But it's generally just the underside of the car that you have to worry about with rust for a car in Colorado. In a saltwater state or a salty area state like Florida, you kind of have to look out for rust everywhere because the moisture in the air can really cause a lot more damage than you realize. It can get into places that normally you couldn't get salt from the road or road grime into just by driving the car. So a lot of concern there, a lot of things to look out for, and it's just it's a very strange position to be in as far as what is the right answer. And I don't know what the right answer is. I was talking with my dad about it last night, and he said, the cheapest, most for sure thing would be to get a plane ticket and ship everything. But it's not what you want to do, and that's what you have to. That's what I have to sit there and look at. What is it that I want to do? Do I want to play it safe? Because there certainly is a gamble with buying another car here and trying to drive it 2,100 miles. Am I sure that it will make it? I don't know. I could end up being out the cost of the vehicle if I attempt the next 2 legs of this road trip on another car. I could be up a creek without a paddle if the second car breaks. That could be a very disastrous situation, and there's no guarantee that there's also no guarantee that I'd be able to get out of the car what I put into it. So I think at this point I would like to look for another car, and I think that I'm going to actually go ahead and do that. I need to call Miami vehicle registrations today and find out what the process for that is. At least maybe getting a temporary tag, something that I can drive from here to Colorado Springs with, and at least make sure that I'm legal to operate the vehicle. So that is a concern of mine, and that's something that I'm going to be taking care of for sure. So I will let you guys know what's going on. We might have another video later on about me getting on an airplane. We may have another video about me getting back out on the road. I don't know yet at this point. I have not made a finite decision yet. So stay tuned for that. I will let you guys know. Obviously, the things that I was going to do on the car with my little brother have been unfortunately canceled because there's no longer a car. As for what happened to the Civic, I have good news for you if you're in the Miami area. It is on the side of the road on 23. Go get it. Have fun. The shitty thing is I had just put brand new tires on that car, and that was about $450, and it's gone. So talking about losing money and getting nothing back for it, I just put brand new tires on that car, and it's done. There is no point in repairing that vehicle. The engine is locked up, and that is because a connecting rod was coming apart, and that was the noise that I was hearing. I thought it was valve tick. It was not. It was a connecting rod. One of the bolts holding the connecting rod together was coming undone, and it finally had enough and locked up. So there was no hole in the block. It is just the connecting rod, but to fix that engine, I would have to pull that engine out of the car. I would have to completely strip the engine down, pull all the pistons out, the crank, everything, valve cover, pull the head off, everything. I would have to completely strip that engine down. The engine would have to be bored out. It would have to be re-sleeved. I would probably need to either get the crankshaft turned to replace any damage that happened to the crankshaft. I would need new bearings, and if the crankshaft suffered severe damage, I might have to replace the crankshaft. So connecting rods are about $200 a piece. Usually I found a couple of sets of 4 for about $200. A crankshaft is another $200. I have no idea how much a machine shop would charge me to bore and sleeve the engine, but I'm estimating that that's probably about 300 to 400. And then I have to get another. I have to get a upper end rebuild kit. I actually need a whole rebuild kit because I would have to do springs, gaskets. I would want to put a new timing belt on there, a new water pump, all things like that. Just for some peace of mind, I would want to do all of those things. So we're looking at almost $1,000 to get the Civic back out on the road again. And here's the big kicker for that. I have no tools. I have no engine crane. So I don't have the means or ability to actually work on the Civic here. The couple of things that I wanted to do were small things. I could literally use a scissor lift and a jack stand to do everything else that I wanted to do, which was tie rod ends, CV shaft, ball joints. Really simple stuff. It's not a major teardown project to do those kind of things. And then obviously we wanted to add some more lights to the car, which would have made it look pretty cool. So unfortunately, that can't happen now. But you know, it is what it is. Onward and upwards. Sad day. It is what it is. And I'm just going to move on. I don't know how I'm going to move on. I will keep you guys updated, and hopefully we can do some more fun stuff here in Miami. If I buy a car rather soon, then I should be able to get out and go out and visit some places here, and hopefully you guys will get a chance to see a couple of things in Miami. Until then, I will talk to you guys later, and I will catch up with you guys soon. Bye.
Please don't